And hi, Robin.
Good afternoon, Ju. How are you?
We're good. We're not entirely sure why YouTube isn't allowing us to show ourselves yet, but we'll get there. Let me just try. And no, we're still on audio only. But you introduce yourselves and the show, and we'll keep coming up.
Okay, well, we're audio only. Oh, no, we're now, we have, Josh has checked, we can see ourselves.
Yes, and we can see you too, all the
Oh,
way
excellent.
from London.
All right, so I will carry on. So, hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Together TV Unlocked, the lockdown show that unlocks your life for you. Or at least a small part, anyway. I am Robin Surgeonator, one of the co-hosts of the show. And business director for Together 2012. And today I am wearing a brown Bob Marley Exodus t-shirt, along with no rimmed glasses and hair.
I am Josh Surgeonator. I'm a university student and I'm currently stuck at home on lockdown, and I'm wearing a grey and green Dropkick Murphys baseball t-shirt.
So, for those of you who are regular viewers, you will notice that we have in fact moved to the new improved studio, as we like to call it. Only 3 days ago, this studio was acting as a comprehensive storage room. I mean, although if you could look around, you'd see it's
Still is.
It's a much more organised comprehensive storage room now, plus a drum kit, a bed thing, and a whiteboard with our session plans on it for land work, just in the background. So there you go.
And can you hear us still, Robin?
Yeah, we're hearing you. We're just
So I think we might be having to do audio description all the time at the moment. So my name, because I keep pressing a button that says video, but nothing happens. So I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90. I'm the artistic director of Together 2012, who produces Together Unlocked. I'm 57. I've got black rimmed glasses. I've got short red hennaed hair, and I've got a rather washed out green t-shirt with equal stamped in pink. And to my right, or possibly to the left, if you were able to look at the stream, I have Julie Newman, and I'm just going to pass over the microphone.
Hi, I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012. I have silver and gold hair. I'm currently wearing a black bench polo shirt, which might look a bit familiar to regular viewers on account of not having much outfits with me during the period of lockdown. I'm going to hand back at some point.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. I mean, you know, if people without vision can get away with being able to be presenters, we can do it too.
Yeah, I think it's almost like radio. I think the difficulty is going to come when we start playing videos if nobody can see them. And can I just check, Josh in Birmingham, have you got a monitor running of the live stream at your end?
I do, yes.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a short video, and if it doesn't play, we're going to stop the stream and start again. What we're told is a lot of people are streaming. The software is struggling to cope, and so is the internet. So we will just play it by ear. It's a very strange time, but we're here for you, and we will keep talking. So this short video is just introducing our Join In From Home program. So let's see if we can get that to play. Well, the screen has gone black at my end. How's it looking for you guys?
Oh, we've got you now as well.
Oh, you can see you now.
Ah, da-da! So it obviously didn't like something, did it?
Right, but it's not playing the video yet, but there is quite
no,
a long...
that's all right. I haven't actually started playing.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's the wonders of the internet, and we're on a kind of virtual sofa composed of various wheelchairs. And at the moment, we have in a line from looking at the screen left to right, Josh, Robin, Julie, and myself, Ju Gosling. One
Hi,
of the
everyone.
reasons, yeah, hi. And one of the reasons we do this show is in order to tell you more about our Join In From Home program. So I'm really, really hoping that this video may play. So just bear with us. It's a very short
It's
video just introducing the
it,
program.
it's on about a 20-second delay.
Our dance club usually meets on the fourth Monday of each month from 11 till 1. We arrive around 10:30 and have a cup of tea, which is something that we pretty much do at every club. So one of the key things to do when you're joining in with us from home is to have a tea or a coffee or a glass of water, whatever your favourite tipple is, settle down and relax and take things slowly. So if we click on the link here to the dance club, you'll see some photos here of some of our participants in action. The dance club focuses on two things: improvised dance and dancing without showing our faces, so that all of the expression has to come through the body and the movement. The activity we have here is challenging you to make your own mask with whatever you've got available. It can be a paper plate, it can be a bag, it can be a box, it can be as big or as small as you like. A mask can really be anything that fits over your head. It can be huge or it can just cover part of your face. And then we want you to video yourselves dancing in it and share that film with us. We will then share that film with our followers on social media and in Together Unlocked. But we will also be screening the best of them during the dance programme at our International Disability Film Festival in December, where they'll actually be eligible for an award. I'm going to show you one of the very first films the dance club made here. So here this is on YouTube with an improvised percussion soundtrack. And you'll also see elsewhere that you can make your own percussion instruments, and we'll talk about that another time. So these are just really, really basic masks that they made, I think, in 20 seconds. And then they wrapped themselves in fabric and just made a few movements towards the camera. And you can just see how really impressive and accessible, but also straightforward it is to make one of these dances. So that's our challenge to you. Make your own mask using whatever you have available. Dress up however you like. Do a little dance. Take a film, send it to us, and we will not only share it, but we will also put it forward for selection for the film festival. And there.
Oh, we've lost you again now.
I blame the aliens.
Yeah. Or MI6.
Yeah, this is.
Well, we will continue filling in. So hoping that this is coming to you live. It's a little strange because monitoring the live show from here while presenting it, we have about a 20, maybe even 30-second delay. So if we try to check what we're doing, we find out we've only done it, or we don't. See if I could cut that 30 seconds out now. That would be really good.
It's the,
yeah, that was the delay.
the trials of live TV.
Yeah. So the delay. Yes, to know that we are actually coming to you takes a while. So we are, though, because I can see that I moved about 30 seconds ago on the other screen.
So anyway, given it's Monday, how was your weekend? What did you get up to?
Oh, it was good. We have Ju and Julie back, I believe.
Well, you had us before. We could see us, but you couldn't. So this is kind of more and more and more peculiar. But it's like we keep saying, by the time isolation ends, everybody's going to be so slick, including the people who are developing these systems. Can you hear us properly as well?
We can,
Yes.
yeah.
But it's always nice to eavesdrop on you when you think we can't hear you. And, And we hope that's true of the audience as well, particularly if you're stuck at home on your own. Then welcome into our slightly chaotic and anarchic studios, lives, and work. How was your weekend, guys?
Mine was quite busy actually. I had some kind of university work that we had to finish up for a couple of meetings today. So I actually kind of managed to sit down and be productive for the first time in about a week, which was quite nice. So
Yeah. I mean, actually, quite nice. I mean, we've been better at getting our land work done. So talking of being, what was the word? It wasn't slim, was it? It was, but anyway, it's more svelte by the time this lockdown is over. I think we got in a garden a bit, and actually, I started to feel creative, and I actually got my guitar out to think about writing, and I'm reworking a cover at the moment, which will be aired sometime, hopefully soon. So it's good, and I've done lots of cooking. I'm becoming an increasingly expert dishwasher stacker, as well, because we normally have PA more. We are still getting some pretty good PA support, it's got to be said, but just not quite in the same way as we've been getting it. So I've had to stop pretending that I'm lazy and actually do some housework.
Yeah, I think we're all doing more housework than we used to do. I mean, I'm in the same situation. We would have PAs coming in to help, but because they can't get masks and gloves, I'm really not happy about them even being able to leave the house if we can manage without them. So Saturday is cleaning day, for better or for worse. But yeah, thank goodness for dustbusters on sticks is all I can say. But when I tried to get the real Hoover out, because I've also had to be, we decided that Sundays would be spa days. So any personal grooming, and particularly 5 cats and 2 dogs grooming, would be done on a Sunday. So by the time I'd finished cutting the dog's hair, I had to get the proper Hoover out. And I was just thinking, how does anybody manage to lift these things, let alone push them around? So that was a kind of interesting exercise, but certainly a way of keeping fit. And I think it's good to have some structure. But I think previously our weekends have tended to be a lot more relaxed than they are at the moment, because now it's all kind of get the chores done. And but
Well,
yeah, I guess we got more energy because we're not going out.
yeah.
I
I mean,
don't know about you.
ours are just different. I mean, normally, we are up on a Saturday morning for early morning training anyway, and then if it's not early morning training, it's because we're at a competition or a camp. So actually, stacking the dishwasher on a more regular basis is actually a lot less than I normally have to do at a weekend. So I'm not going to complain about that at all.
And is that training where you're both coaching also with your Emily, your clever daughter, who's not on screen at the moment?
Well, yeah. I mean, Josh would be up in Sheffield doing his thing, and I'd be down here. I mean, it does depend. I mean, we do co-train on quite a lot of stuff. If Josh around's at the weekend and we're at our home club, he'll come and coach with me. And then if
And is
it's
that swimming or basketball?
swimming,
yeah.
And then if it's a Swim England talent camp, because we're both on the Swim England coach program, and Emily's on the Swim England talent program. So we end up having competitions and or training camps. Probably 3 out of every 5 weekends, we're doing something in addition to training. So yeah, it does feel it's kind of weird, really.
Yeah, I think we're probably on the sort of slightly older and less active end of the disability scale. But also, I think it's true for people of all ages. If you need help to get out, it's actually much more difficult to get it at the weekend. And I was really struck. I was very sad that one of my assistants a temporary assistant had to temporarily resign because they were going off to do live-in childcare and tutoring. And I think that if we can't get the sort of personal protective equipment we were talking about last week soon, I think it's going to be a real issue, because a lot of social care workers can also do childcare. And of course, if you do live in childcare, you just move in for the duration. Whereas if you're doing live-in PA work, you're still moving out half the week when somebody else is coming on
Yeah.
shift. So I think, yeah, it hadn't struck me that that was a possibility, that people would just sort of, if you like, move in people to support them with the childcare and the homeschooling. But clearly that's going to be a bit of a trend. So even if lockdown and isolation finished tomorrow, I don't think we would be having weekends out doing a great deal very soon. But we did have quite a lot of fun at home, and are still getting heavily into Netflix, box series, inventing games for the dogs, and so on and so forth. And speaking of what people have done at home, if I can manage to find it and make it work, which is a whole different issue. We've had a lovely film sent in by Sterre Ploeger from ACT UP, showing us the crafts she did, not this last weekend, but the crafts that she made at Easter weekend. So I'm just going to have a quick look for that. Ah, here we are. And I'm just going to play us this from Sterre Ploeger and Merlot the dog, with Hannah interpreting. For anybody who can't see the screen, Sterre is a young white woman. She's got brown hair in a bob that's just past her shoulders with a fringe. She's sitting pictured at the beginning of the screen on a dark red, what looks very nice, red leather sofa with a black, would you say that was a Labrador or a Retriever, Julie? A black Labrador, which is her assistant's dog called Merlot. So I'm just going to play this very short video now.
Oh. Hi, I'm Sterre. This is my dog, Merlot. I'm making a film of all the things I made to say happy Easter. I made a huge egg. I painted eggs, and I painted a card. Bye.
Oh, that's terrific.
Great, wasn't it? And for anybody who couldn't see that, Sterre was making an egg using papier mâché. So she'd blown up a balloon, covered it with pieces of paper and glue, let them dry, and then painted and decorated it with things like stickers. And she'd also painted an egg on paper and decorated some eggs. Which I think is something you don't just have to do at Easter weekend. It's very much a spring celebration, and I was particularly struck the week before Easter that apparently I didn't realise that hares and chickens were worshipped by the Iron Age Britons. So we knew that the Romans had a feast called Eostra, which was a goddess of fertility, but apparently, yes, chickens and hares were worshipped. So these traditions go back a very long time. Julie, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I was. I had quite a nice weekend as well. Very relaxed, really. But I was playing around with my iPad, and I noticed that there was a bslhealthaccess.co.uk press release at the end of the week, which was basically offering free sign language interpreters for deaf people who are trying to access health services, which is amazing. that it's free. The website again is BSL Health Access, all one word, .co.uk. And I really strongly advise passing that on to anyone else, just in terms of the internet and bits and pieces that I picked up. I noticed I thought was very funny tweet, which was basically somebody was tweeting that his 80-year-old mother he considered to be very lazy, so he'd got her a rowing machine and was telling her to raise some money, which I thought was quite funny, given how everybody's raising money for the NHS.
Yes, it's all a little bit kind of, it's supposed to be optional. You know, people should remember that, shouldn't they, before they get their kind of ancient parents kind of climbing up the sides of buildings and doing goodness knows what else. Have you felt tempted to do any kind of out there fundraising, Robin, or are you quite busy enough?
I quite busy enough, I think, is the answer. I've never been very good at fundraising, actually. So always good at ideas, but then there are always things I have to get other people to do. So I'm good at organising.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult thing to do at the best of times. For anybody who's just joined us, we have a very comprehensive join in from home program. We saw a bit of footage earlier about the dance program. I have another video that I'm really hoping is a different video, but let us check and see, that will just give you a little bit of an introduction to the program. You can find our Join In From Home programme simply by going to our website, which is www.together2012.org.uk. That's www.together2012.org.uk. And almost the first thing you'll find on the top menu is the Join In From Home programme. If you click on it, you can see that there's quite a lot of linked pages, but for now, just choose the top menu, Join In From Home. And the first thing it explains is this isn't just for disabled people or people living in the UK. You can join in here wherever you are in the world and whoever you are, and we'd love to see your work and share that with our audiences via our social media, and also, of course, Together Unlocked, our live stream. All of these activities can be made accessible and inclusive for all ages and abilities, and mostly use materials that you'll already have from home. So moving down, we have the activities organised according to our clubs. Usually we run a club every weekday morning aimed at disabled people and whoever they want to bring with them. So we have an art club, a dance club, a music club, a photographers and filmmakers club, a pop-up poetry club, a Youth Together programme, and we also run family activities in the school holidays. So all of these activities are linked to our ongoing programme, and we'll be adding more activities soon. So how have you been getting on joining in at home?
Well, I mean, between us, mostly Josh, because he's more of the technical wizard, but we've been doing lots of video making for the swimming club. So you asked me on Friday if I've done any filmmaking. We've actually done quite a bit. As I say, Josh done the majority of the actual physical filming bit of it, when I've been making all the contacts and working with the swimmers to get them. So we have a kind of thing going where we're on FaceTime with them on one device. Then so Josh can give them the full instructions on how to do their land work properly, and then on another device, their parent generally is filming them doing this. Then we get all the footage back of them doing the exercise, and then Josh takes his instructions and then creates a new audio set of instructions that go with the video. So that's kind of quite a lot of stuff, and I've been the grip, I think is what it's known in film terms. So that's kind of been good, but then I'm writing lots of other swimming stuff as well. And interestingly enough, we're going to do our first live Zoom we've invented something called swimulation, no pool swim sets. So tonight we're going to take however many swimmers. I've got about 30 signed up so far, actually, through a whole set of exercises that we've made up to represent a given race, which today is going to be the 200-meter IM, which that's where you basically do 50 meters of each stroke, one after the other, without stopping. But we've got a series of 16 different bits of exercise that represents doing the 200 meters. So we our own kind of joining in at home. We're joining in at home and trying to get others to join in too.
And I think that's really important. I'm going to, I hope, let me see if we can get a third screen up here. Nope, it's blank at the moment. Let me try that back again. This looks like a still of me, but in fact, it's the beginning of our next video, which is an interview with Eve Smith. And I'm really hoping, given how much these things are messing around, that we can make it play. So I'm just going to put this on solo, and the interview should be self-explanatory, and then we're going to talk afterwards. So Eve Smith is a young actor. You with Young Actors Theatre Islington Yardie, and you also a few years ago starred as Jodie Whittaker's daughter in The Smoke. But now you're in your final year at college, waiting to go to university and doing auditions and things, and all of a sudden everything's ground to a halt. So how's that been?
It's been fun, stressful.
And which bits have been fun?
I've enjoyed exploring and looking at various drama schools and universities. The challenging parts have been the actual audition, but once you get a first or second one out of the way, it's kind of less stressful.
So you started off auditioning in real life, and now you've had to move over to Zoom. What have the differences been?
Well, I found going to the uni or drama school more easier than Zoom. As at first I struggled with Zoom because I wasn't technical enough to at first to know how to work Zoom, but once you get used to working Zoom and learning how to use Zoom, it's actually more quicker and more accessible, and you kind of feel like you're there, but even if you're not.
Well, you seem to be doing a very good job of it at the moment. So what was the audition you had this morning?
It was for a secondary call from Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, which I wasn't expecting to get quite competitive, and they don't take quite a few people, and half my class got auditioned, half of them didn't get in.
So that's a really good step forward. What did you have to do for the audition?
Well, usually it's one day, but where it's been an online audition, they've had to split it. And the first audition were 2 monologues, one contemporary and one classical, which is Shakespeare, and a song, and then a devised piece, and then the second part, if you get a recall, I ended up doing a divided piece and a second classical monologue.
That sounds like a huge
And
amount
then
of
there's
work.
another recall, but I don't know if I'll get through.
And have you applied for several drama schools and universities?
Yeah, I've auditioned at London South Bank and got a place.
Well,
And
that's
I also
great.
looked at Northbrook and Nescott, and with how competitive it is, where I'm Mountain View, so I didn't get into those places because with how competitive drama school is, some people might not have to have a gap year and then audition.
And it looks like you might have to have a gap year anyway, doesn't it? Because you're in isolation. So you've got lots of options. So we're hoping you're going to start joining us regularly on the programme, Eve. So I'll say goodbye for now, but I really hope that the audition is a success. I'm sure it has been. And we'll all look forward to you joining us on the programme on a regular basis. When do you have to finish your college work? Has it officially been handed in, or?
Well, I'm supposed to finish it by June, but where I haven't been allowed to college like everyone else, I might have to retake, but it depends if I'm allowed to go back. It's just the worrying thing is one of the first performances is at the beginning of next month, and I've only had about 2 rehearsals on my scene where it's towards the end of the performance, and the only thing we've done is blocked it. I have the worrying thing is the not knowing and only having 2 weeks or a few weeks until the first performance and not having a clue what I'm doing.
Which I'm sure is something that's being shared up and down the country, but I hope there's a bit of clarity soon. So thanks again for joining us, Eve, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now. And that was the young actor Eve Smith, who's going to be a regular host, I think, in the next week or two. I mean, you're in a similar situation, but sort of, should we say, further up the academic ladder. Josh, I mean, have you had any more news about your PhD? I think you said you actually had something on this morning.
Yeah, so I've had 3 meetings so far today to discuss various different kind of elements and things. So kind of in a similar situation, everything kind of face to face, kind of in-person work has been cancelled for the foreseeable future, really. So what we are doing instead is we're in kind of the process of putting together a kind of questionnaire survey piece of research, which will then kind of hopefully follow up for those that are kind of interested, expressing interest on the questionnaire, with then kind of follow up semi-structured interviews to kind of go a little bit more kind of in detail to some of the specific things that you just can't get in a questionnaire. So we're kind of currently in the process of writing ethics applications and getting all that approved, so we can then kind of disseminate that questionnaire out to people to start kind of getting some data collection.
And is that a different way of working to what you'd planned up till now?
Yes. So kind of the initial plan for what we would be doing now was a lot of face-to-face kind of in the labs, getting some kind of physiological information and data, and doing some of the kind of the hard science, if you like.
This is all about how Paralympic athletes kind of process heat in their bodies, isn't it?
Partly, there is a big component around para athletes, but kind of at this stage as well, we're not limiting it purely to athletes. Kind of down the road, it's going to take more of a para athlete focus, but kind of during this initial stage, we're kind of looking at everybody as a general population, just to kind of contribute to the field. Sadly, a lot of research, not just into Paralympic sport, but research into disability, and is so far behind, able-bodied kind of work, that during the kind of initial phases and the background stages, we're trying to kind of collate as much information as possible, just to try and kind of fill out what isn't known, things that are kind of standard now and have been known for 30 years in able-bodied people. For some groups, that information just doesn't exist. It's never been looked into. So hopefully.
Yeah, when you say able-bodied, I've been interested to read quite a lot over the last few weeks about how research usually, in terms of trials, certainly medical research, doesn't involve women. And now they're realizing that actually women's bodies are very different in the way that they process drugs, and yet all of the drugs are only tested on men. So is the research that's being carried out on men and women, but just only people who are so-called able-bodied, or has it been a sort of male cohort as well?
Oh, that's a difficult question to answer off the top of my head.
All right, sorry, you can come back to me on that one. That's just picking up stuff from the papers and asking out of interest.
More of the more modern research certainly has used kind of either mixed kind of populations in terms of men and women. Sometimes by design, papers are either specifically men only or women only, but typically, good research should have both. I think certainly in the past, research has focused more on men, in a similar way to disability. Kind of 20 years ago, female sport wasn't considered important or as important as men's sport, and thankfully that's now changed, that women's sport's getting the recognition it deserves, and kind of para sport and disability sport is hopefully on a kind of similar trajectory, that it's starting to kind of get the accolades that it probably should have already had.
I was going to say, bringing it back more specifically to your research, one, you're not making any gender bias on that, are you? However you
yeah, no, in my research, we're looking at men, women, adults, children. We've got.
I was taking that for granted. Don't worry.
The question.
The audio description is two white men sit there squirming away when it's actually not their fault at all. But hey. So
I've never squirmed.
I think what you were saying around that typically drugs are always been tested on men, from memory is true. I remember reading that myself a while ago. And there was no real explanation of kind of why that was done. You miss out half the population. You'd think that somebody would have gone, should we just check at some point?
Well, I think it is how we always come back to, the default body is considered to be white, male, straight, non-disabled. And actually, that's only a small minority of the world's population. But I'll try and move as swiftly on from there, but also gather up everything we've been talking about. We saw a film earlier about our Join In From Home dance programme. And one of the reasons we played that today is the fourth Monday of the month is usually our dance club, where, as we said on the video, we focus on improvised dance for the screen, covering our faces, focusing on the movement, and making some interesting masks in the process. But Eve Smith, who I have to say, when she played Jodie Whittaker's daughter, I was being reminded that Jodie Whittaker's daughter, the character, was also training for para athletes, which isn't something that Eve is exactly built to do. I think she's done a lot of boccia, hasn't she, Julie? So Eve does do para sport, but not running. But she acted running in Jodie Whittaker's thing. But the very first time Eve performed on film was actually for me before she was 3 years old. And I was looking back over the weekend and thinking, is this my fault? You know, as we all know to our cost, artists do not earn very much money. You know, it's considered to be a glamorous career, but it isn't really. And there is Eve, kind of on her well on her way to a full-time career in acting. She acted for me because I was commissioned by Drake Music Project, which is a project based, among other places, in London and Manchester, and works with disabled people, and particularly with electronic music. And about 17, 18 years ago, I had a life-altering illness in 2000. I joined Drake because I really wanted to try something different, and I hadn't done music for a long time, so I couldn't really be kind of doing it differently now. It was always going to be something new. And I was taught how to program in Cubase by an artist and musician called Lyn Levett. And we sadly heard over the weekend that Lyn had passed. I'm not quite sure of any of the circumstances, but she was by this point a member of Para Orchestra. But back in 2003, she was one of a group of musicians commissioned to do some original pieces performed at Croydon Clock Tower, which then had a very fantastic live arts program with a lot of inclusive programming. And Drake commissioned myself and also Julie to do some visuals for the musicians, because it was felt that electronic music's quite static and it's nice to have some visuals. I'd like to show the film, but I'm not sure whether we're only going to get the sound, in which case we'll just see a little bit of it. But I'll do the audio description at the beginning anyway, and then if all you hear is the music, you can imagine the rest, and I will put a link up in the Together Unlocked gallery. But effectively, it's a looped video playing with a lot of effects to make it look like this baby is grooving away to this music called Euphoria. And at the end, Eve takes what were indeed some of her first steps, and of course, as in the way of things, had originally been, we'd all been told that she would never walk and never talk, and as you can see for yourself from the last interview, that was clearly not right. So I'm going to pop this up in the stream. Like I say, if we don't get the visuals, then we'll play that another time, and I'll just do the sound. But I wanted to kind of add that I think particularly on a Monday, we've talked about different ways of keeping fit. We've talked about the warm-up that's in the Join In From Home programme. We've had ideas for exercises from you two in Birmingham. But actually, just letting loose and dancing can be a really good way of just waking yourself up. You know, dance like nobody's watching. And while we put this on, even if we've only got the music, let's all have a bit of a dance. And that was a little bit of Lyn Levett's Euphoria. I hope you enjoyed a bit of a bop. I'm actually going to be going back to the original files because you can imagine 2003, the files that are on YouTube are very, very sort of small and blocky. So I'm actually going to be over the next couple of weeks going back to those films and bringing them up and putting them up in a much higher res. So we might look at it again then.
No, it was great though.
Yeah, I mean, Lyn is just a huge loss. And of course, as we know, people are losing people and it's going to continue, but we can celebrate their lives and just celebrate who they were. I think Lyn had cerebral palsy. She programmed everything with her nose. All of her communications came through her speech device, which she programmed with her nose. She could use her feet to move her manual chair, but only backwards. So she would come along, kind of moving backwards, using her nose for everything. She used to go and do, when we first met her, I think she was doing gigs in very rough pubs in South London. And with that attitude, it's no wonder she ended up with para orchestras. So, Lyn, we will all miss you, but your music will be living on. How about you? Do you do any dancing, Josh and Robin?
I mean, it's quite concerning to say that a number of the moves demonstrated in the video, I feel, come from my current repertoire of go-to dance moves.
As in you couldn't see anything.
Which I don't know if that kind of says that she was very ahead of her time or I'm very behind. But yeah.
I think these 3 tracks I was listening to over the weekend, as you can imagine, there's one called Space and one called Stream Dream. And in fact, I'll put the links to all of them up.
Yeah,
I mean, at the time we were sort of a bit too old to be raving, but that was our kind of go at rave culture. But I'd like to think it stands the test of time, certainly.
I love a good boogie, me. I mean, I may probably absolutely appalling at it, but I do love to throw some shapes.
I didn't realise I was too old to rave.
No, darling, you're never too old to rave, but we thought we were at the time. But no. Do you want to say anything more about raving?
No. I'll only embarrass myself.
Well, do you want to? So we're looking ahead. Apologies, we started a bit late today. We're looking ahead till Wednesday. We'll have our usual Paralympics. We will be competing yet again for the right of the teddy bear of the week to wear the gold medal.
Yeah.
It's Tony the Ted, still wearing his gold medal from last week. He'll be retiring, and a new teddy for the virtual teddy bear hunt will be coming up, competing against. Are you any idea which teddy bear will be playing yet, Robin?
I don't know, but with Josh's picking, it might be him.
So we'll have the Paralympics. We'll have Josh doing a bit of a roundup of what else is available in terms of sports online and telling us a bit more about gaming. We'll be telling you a bit more about the Pop-Up Poetry Club, and they're actually hoping to meet virtually for the very first time on Wednesday morning. So if that works out, I shall be reporting back, and if I don't mention it, it probably didn't. But if you want to say your goodbyes, on Monday, to my horror, I realised that we are due to finish with one of my poems. And in fact, I did end up writing a new poem on Friday night. So first of all, I shall pass back to Birmingham to say goodbye, and then I'll pass over to Julie.
Okay, well, over to you.
Yes, goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
And goodbye from me. It was nice to see everybody.
So this is called Quality of Life, and I think quite often when I write poems, it's actually sort of something's working away in the back of my mind that might in other circumstances be a rant. But to just explain a bit of the background, I was sitting on a committee for NICE, which is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, and I spent about 2 years on this committee as a service user and so-called expert by experience, drawing up social services guidelines on how you improve the experience of social care for adults. And I came across this concept of equality, which is QALY. And equality is how people measure your life, and it's basically a financial cost. So this is what this poem's called, and it's called Quality of Life. How much is my life worth, and how can I tell? There's a formula that I know only too well. My life is costed by symptoms, you see, not the value it has to you or to me. You can't fetch top price if you roll round on wheels, even a businessman making big deals. There's a further discount if you can't hold your wee, even if you are an active MP. If you can't see too far or simply can't hear, your life is not considered so dear. There's more off if you need support from another, even if you are a competent mother, and pain is considered a definite no, whether or not people with pain say so. The government costs you before they will give the NHS treatments that you need to live. Your life must be perfect to gain a full quality before you are even put onto a trolley. If you can't leave your house, then your value is cheap. The state won't spend much money for your life to keep. And maybe that's one reason more people die of COVID-19 in the UK. And I am afraid of the verdict if I become ill. Before I sleep, I have miles to go still. We may be a good parent, a partner or neighbour. Whoever we are, we're all more than our labour. Yet whoever we are, our lives are still judged on our cold market value, not how much we're loved. These slavery values must come to an end. What kind of price can you put on a friend? Your brother, your grandma, your child and your wife? How can a price be placed on their life? The values that matter are those we all share. How much we give and how much we care. It's time to abandon the checkbook approach. Love is the quality that matters the most. Thank you and goodbye.